Hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Michaela, this is Meekela Reads, and I make videos about books, generally, and I read a lot of them, generally. So you may be wondering, which ones do you like the best? And I cannot easily answer that because it is like telling you which part of my soul I pick more than the other parts of my soul and my being and my character. So as someone who bases their character and persona practically off of every book that she reads, I figured I would tell you about them and how I came to be the person that I am through the books that I have read. I have not got a plan for this. I just picked up books that I liked off of my shelf. There is no specific section on my shelf that shows which books I like the best because they're just interspersed about. So here we go. We have The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. No surprise to anyone who's been here for a while. The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune is one of my favorite books of all time. I have read it recently and it immediately jumped into my top 5. This is a fantastical middle grade-ish book based around Linus Baker, who is a worker for this magical regulations company, and he is assigned on this like top secret mission to go and monitor a foster home for kids with magical powers and little magical creature kids, and their headmaster, to see if everything's up to scratch and if it's up to regulation. And we see a giant character transformation in Linus as he learns to love the kids, as he learns to care for the kids, and all of the things that come from that. I love this because it is filled with found family vibes. It is cozy. The characters are all so lovable, and this book is what I imagine a blanket and a warm cup of tea to be, like in a book form. Like, it's just comforting and familiar, and I loved it. Next, we have The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. Yet another one that I've read recently. This is John Green's anthology or short collection of essays that he has written about the human experience on our world. I don't read essays. I'm not an essay person, but I loved The Anthropocene Reviewed. From things like Mario Kart to CNN to viral meningitis, there is just a huge variety of different essays in this collection, and I loved it. It showed so much of John Green and his life experience in this as well. Even though he's covering the experience of everyone, it was just so hard-hitting. I laughed and I cried, and I did not think that I would do that for a non-fiction book. She's including a non-fiction. Who is she? I think my two favorite short essays in this are the Monopoly essay and Auld Lang Syne, I think it's how you pronounce it. Those are my two favorites. Hilarious and terribly saddening at the same time. Fantastic. If you don't like essays, that's fine. You can read one a night before you go to bed. That's how I did it. It is fantastic. You should read this book. Next. Is she a basic bitch? Yes, she is. A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I found A Court of Thorns and Roses at a time that I needed it. It was there when I needed it to be, and that is why I hold it in such a close little tucked away section in my heart. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury for the first time in 2017, which is when I started getting back into reading, when I started getting into BookTube. It was a whole thing. But if you don't know, A Court of Thorns and Roses specifically is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. To an extent, our main character Feyre has to go to this magical land of Prithian because she killed a wolf that actually was a fairy, and then there's a whole thing that she goes through where she has to like solve a riddle and go through a course, and it's a whole thing. But A Court of Mist and Fury is the second book, and it is far superior in my opinion, and I think also everyone else's. It just continues the story. There's way more angst and romance and heartbreaking character development. It's just, I live for character development. I don't know what it is, but it is. So A Court of Mist and Fury will forever be my favorite Sarah J. Maas book. I love Crescent City with everything in my soul, and I'm currently reading House of Sky and Breath, but it just takes the cake. It takes the cake every time. Even though it has so many flaws, I still love it. A Court of Mist and Fury. Next, we're taking it back to the middle grade. Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. Have you seen the movie? If you liked the movie, you'll like the book. Howl's Moving Castle, as everyone knows, is a Studio Ghibli movie, but it was a book first, and the book tells you so much more about the whole situation than the movie does, which I love the movie and I love Ghibli and I love how it is told and how the story is portrayed and the artwork, fantastic. But the book tells you so much more about the story, which realistically is why we're there. Howl's Moving Castle has the most depth out of any of the other Ghibli movies that I have personally seen, in my opinion, and we get more depth in the book. Howl's Moving Castle, as stated, is about a moving castle. run by a wizard named Howl, and our main character Sophie has a curse placed on her where she is turned into an old lady, which she kind of just accepts because she kind of is in her soul an old lady, which I think that I relate to on a very deep level. And so she goes on this journey with Howl and the people and creatures that live inside of his house to help break her curse and her spell. She has to go and find this witch in the witch lands. I like Howl's Moving Castle because, as with the house in the Cerulean Sea, it feels like a warm hug. It feels cozy, it has fantastic, again, found family, and the character development and the little like romances that are sprinkled in, and like the weird magical realism that isn't mentioned in the movie that is actually in the book. Yeah. Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones is a favourite. Also the rest of the series, but more so the first one. You don't have to read the other two, but I think that there's some value in that as well. Next. Okay, we're taking it even further back to the middle grade land. The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. I love this book. This is a book that I haven't seen on BookTube, and I'm sure that that is because it is a children's picture book. But I read The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane when I was still in university, I think, so I was not a child. It has no sentimental value for me in it. This follows the story of Edward Tulane. He is our main character and he is a toy rabbit. It follows his journey as he is lost overboard on a ship from his very pretentious and well-off owner, young female child, and then subsequently the rest of his toy life as he is then found in the ocean and passed through many homes, and the stories of the people whose homes he goes to and how he helps them. It just breaks my heart every time. The wholesome journey of Edward Tulane. There's pictures as well because it's a children's book. It gets you thinking about how far toys can go in our world, how many hands they can pass through, and what impact they have on young children and adults alike. A fantastic life lesson book. The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. There is only 2 left. We're getting there. The next one is actually not the book I'm about to show you. It is in fact the first one. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is The Wise Man's Fear, which is the second one. Why, you may ask? Because my Name of the Wind copy is with my friend Jack. Please give it back to me. I'm dying, but that is fine. They're in every secondhand shop and I'm about to like go out and get one because Jared and I are currently rereading it. I have finally gotten him interested in a book. It is the best. This is the best day ever. It's so like comforting and heartwarming when he's like, hey, can we listen to the book now? Because we're listening to it on audiobook. The Name of the Wind follows our main character, Quoth, as he tells his life story up until where he is now, which is an innkeeper in a small forgotten town where no one knows who he is, and he is going by the name Quoth. However, Quoth does actually have this super magical, adventure-ridden, intense, heartbreaking, traumatic history that he tells the story to a chronicler who is writing down the story as we are hearing it as well. And the story does a really good job of flipping, when needed, back to the present day where Quoth is telling the story. We hear the story of Quoth as he grows and develops and goes from literally the age of I think like 10 up until like where he is now, which I think is like 25. Fantastic fantasy series. The world building is rich. It feels so tangible and realistic, like you're there. Patrick Rothfuss is a fantastic writer. I'm still waiting for the 3rd book, but we have a title. It's called The Doors of Stone. We don't have a date. We haven't had a date since like 2017 when I first read this. So this is a book that I generally recommend to people that don't even like reading, like Jared. It feels like a movie. It feels like a fantasy TV series or a fantasy movie that is really palatable to people who don't read, which I think is a huge strength of the book, because to have a fantasy world that is this vivid and rich but is not hard to digest, perfection. Absolute perfection. The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. Oh my god, it's the last one. It's a manga. This is like so shocking to everyone, including myself, but I was looking at it and I was like, you know what, I think that is actually one of my favorites. I remember nothing about the story, to be honest. I remember it's heartbreaking, and I remember that I read it in probably a day, like both volumes 1 and 2. But it is Orange, volumes 1 and 2 by Ichigo Takano. It's a manga. This is a kind of like almost sci-fi fantastical manga that follows our main character Naho. She's in 11th grade and she receives a letter from herself in the future that outlines a whole bunch of things that are going to happen, and they start to come true, and then she starts to actually believe that this letter is from her in the future, and there is a warning that she gets about a new student that is coming, and basically her future self is telling her that she needs to look out for this boy and she is the one that can change his future. Again, I remember nothing about it, but it was heartbreaking and it was moving, and I was so thoroughly invested that as I said, I read it in like 2 days. And it was, they're not small, like not small at all, but they are manga, so it's like lots of pictures. So cool. Very good. Orange. Ichigo Takano. Oh wow, this is way more books than I thought it was going to be. What are you doing, person? Please leave. You know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna keep going. Yeah, we overcome anxiety. We did that today. Congratulations to us. So this is my favorite books as of Friday the 18th of February at 12:17 p.m. If that's focused or not, I don't know. There we go. I'm gonna put these down because they hurt. You live here now. Just nicely in the background. But that is all of the books that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not. That would be amazing. Thank you, bye!